So it's the 5th of November, and Nintendo's financial results are in for quarter two, fiscal year 2025. And when I break down these results and really look over the numbers, I think these numbers are actually pretty good, pretty solid overall, and not really worrisome. Even though Nintendo has revised their forecast to sell 12.5 million Switch consoles now instead of 13.5. They're still on track to sell roughly 154 million Switch consoles by the end of March 2025, which would put the Switch right on the cusp of the DS total hardware sales, and it could potentially pass the DS right around that time frame or even a little later into the year. Even with this revisal of their forecast, the trajectory itself, they're still on track to surpass the DS, so the Switch will indeed become Nintendo's best-selling gaming device of all time, sometime next year, even with these results. But the results themselves, 2.62 million units were sold this quarter, Switch consoles, down from 2.93 million units last year. That's not really a huge dip. It's only a couple 100,000 units. It's like 11% or something when you really break that down. So, and naturally, it's gonna be lower because we're in the 7th year. The Switch is now at 146 plus million units sold worldwide and 1.3 billion in software. That's astronomical. I mean, even the DS didn't reach a billion. 900 plus, I forget where it exactly landed, but it was under a billion. Same with the Wii. I thought the DS did reach a billion, but looking back, it didn't quite get there. So there's a few other notable achievements here when I look at these results. One of which that comes to mind is Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. 35 million seller now for a fighting game. That's absolutely absurd. And it begs the question, what is Nintendo going to do with the next Smash Brothers game for Switch 2? Have they been working on a brand new Super Smash Brothers game all along? Has it been in development the last couple of years? Or are they going to do sort of a Super Smash Brothers Ultimate Deluxe version of the game, which I've heard come up in conversation before, where they have all the DLC and whatnot? Like, what really are they going to do? Because 35 million seller, there's no question we're getting another Smash Brothers game with those numbers. So I also want to touch upon Breath of the Wild and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is now at 64.27 million units sold, and Breath of the Wild at 32.29 million. When you add those two games up, they have sold in excess of 96 plus million copies on Switch now. And the kicker is, they are both Wii U games. I like to stress that because I've mentioned this before to, in live streams or whatnot, to some of my favorite Nintendo YouTubers like Nintendo Prime, where I bring this fact up that these are Wii U games, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and Breath of the Wild at the end of the day, right? I get it that Mario Kart 8 Deluxe has the added content, the battle mode, all that, but at the end of the day, it's a Wii U game. Same with Breath of the Wild. And these are the games that they launched the system with. Day one, Breath of the Wild, and then they followed up in the second month with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. And again, these two games combined on Switch, 96 plus million copies sold. Just those two games, Wii U games on Switch. That's an absurd number. And then, of course, Echoes of Wisdom I want to touch upon real quickly, because I've heard on X this morning, there was a comment made by someone in which they said 2D Zelda fans didn't show up for this game. And that may be slightly true. Even 2.58 million units for the game in about 5 days, so just under 2.6 million units, is still very good, very solid overall. And it's an evergreen title. It's going to continue to sell this month, next month, in December, and pretty much all of next year as well, when you factor in backwards compatibility for Switch 2, which I believe the system will have. Maybe people will pick up the game then, and the numbers are just going to continue to add up. The question is, will it surpass the Link's Awakening? Which is at roughly, 7 million or so, or it might be a little less than that. I think some 2D Zelda fans potentially did pass on this game and have not bought into it right out the gate, because there was some skepticism when it comes to the notion of a playable Zelda with the new gameplay mechanics. Maybe it was the art style. There was some nitpicks and sort of concern with all that, that Zelda fans were expressing when it came to this game, so there might have been a decent percentage that have passed on the game right out the gate, but might pick it up later. But overall, the numbers are still really good. Again, 5 days, roughly 2.6 million copies sold. There's nothing wrong with that. It's probably already profitable for Grezzo for Nintendo, even with those numbers, in 5 days, right? That's not really worrisome. But I just beat Echoes of Wisdom last night, actually, so I will have a review and more discussion on the game coming up. I'm actually working on that video right now. But overall, just to break it down real quickly, I mean, these numbers, not really worrisome. I think they're really good. The hardware being down, I think, is expected. The software, the lineup, when you look at this year, 2024, it's obviously not as strong as last year. And real quickly, before I end the video, there was one other question that I wanted to touch upon that somebody asked on Twitter. They said, who the hell is buying a Switch now, right? And when you look at the number, millions of people. There's still millions of people buying the hardware 7 years in at this point, because the numbers don't lie. Even just in 3 months, again, the system has sold 2.62 million units at this stage of the game in its life cycle. That's millions of people. That's almost 3 million at the end of the day when you really break it down. Parents for kids, Christmas, there's still many adults that are buying into the system that are late to the game because of the software lineup and how strong the Switch arguably has the best lineup ever in the history of Nintendo's gaming consoles, right? Super Nintendo is still my favorite, but the Switch is number one for a lot of people at this stage of the game when you really break down their first-party lineup. And you look at these numbers, and all of this is occurring without a price drop, without an official unveiling of their successor hardware for Switch 2. And we're at this stage right now at 146 million units sold and 1.3 billion in software. So that's all for now. Thanks for listening. Stay tuned for more content, a lot more in the works. Again, Echoes of Wisdom, just beat the game. I got a video coming up on that and more in the works. Peace out.